been drowning in my PTSD. I can't sleep. When you know the truth and when you understand what we're talking about, you won't be able to sleep either. When you understand that there's a child being trafficked, brutalized, tortured right now as we speak, he won't be able to sleep either. When you realize how much your government is lying to you about, everything is in your face and some of it you've enabled, you won't be able to sleep.
He looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia? And do we know whether she used that baby oil or not for that massage? It makes you say, Her casket was ordered 2 months before she died. I don't believe that, man, I swear. How you order a gold casket 2 months before somebody died, man?
I don't know what happened. I was down there for a while. There's certain people that you don't talk about because you just don't. There were certain people that I seen down there, from Beyonce, Jay-Z.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they loved me and, just turn their back on you in a second. I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody.
You know what's wild? So many women tried to speak up about what was happening behind closed doors with Diddy, but nobody listened. For years, there were whispers, rumors, girls crying for help. Some of them didn't survive it. Others got silenced, threatened, or blackballed. People called it drama or jealous ex energy. They brushed it off. But then Cassie spoke up, and everything shifted. When she filed that lawsuit, the floodgates opened. People finally started paying attention. And now someone else is stepping forward, someone who was right there when all of this was going down. Justin Bieber. Yeah, you heard that right. Justin used to be close with Diddy back when he was just a teenager. Puffy had him around all the time. Parties, studio sessions, trips, you name it. And back then, Justin stayed quiet. Not because he didn't care, but because he was scared. Scared of what Puffy might do. Scared of the consequences of telling the truth. But now that Diddy's behind bars, Justin's talking. And what he's revealing about the girls who were hurt, used, and abused at Diddy's parties, some of them famous like Kim Porter and Aaliyah, is deeply disturbing. This isn't just another celebrity headline. This is the truth finally coming out from someone who saw it all and stayed quiet for too long. Now that Diddy's facing serious legal consequences, the truth is unraveling fast. The Cassie case, which was once brushed off by some as just another celebrity breakup, is now exposing some of the darkest corners of the music industry. And as the trial continues, disturbing new details are surfacing that shed light on how far Diddy's control allegedly went. Cassie was only 19 years old when she signed with Bad Boy Records in 2006. At the time, she described her relationship with Diddy as purely professional. But things took a sharp, uncomfortable turn just 2 years later. On her 21st birthday in Las Vegas, Cassie said Diddy kissed her in the bathroom of his hotel suite. "I was just really confused at the time," she later said, "and young." From there, things escalated quickly. She recalled how Diddy started inviting her to hotel rooms in New York under the pretense of talking about music projects. But instead, she said she was introduced to the idea of oral S, something she admitted she wasn't prepared for. Cassie described being inexperienced, unsure of how to even process what was happening. Then came the trip to Miami, where after drinking wine and taking ecstasy for the first time, which Diddy allegedly gave her, she said they had S. And that was the beginning of what Cassie described as a pattern of control and manipulation. "Sean controlled a lot of my life," she testified. "Whether it was career, the way I dressed, everything. I just didn't have much say in it at the time." Now that the case is moving forward in court, Justin Bieber is finally speaking up too. Justin was around back then. He was still a kid when Diddy pulled him into that world, but he saw more than people realized. And while he stayed quiet for years, likely out of fear and self-preservation, now that Diddy's empire is crumbling, Justin's starting to talk about what he witnessed. Justin Bieber isn't just speaking up for the sake of headlines. He's describing the twisted world he witnessed behind closed doors. And one of the most disturbing things he's now talking about? The freak-offs. That's what Diddy allegedly called these orchestrated encounters involving escorts, where everything was controlled and directed by him. Justin said he saw how these events went down, and now Cassie's testimony is lining up with his claims. She revealed that her first freak-off happened in Diddy's Los Angeles home in 2008, when she was just 22 years old. According to Cassie, a male stripper from Las Vegas was brought to the house not long after Diddy told her he had a thing for voyeurism, watching other people engage in S. And what followed was a disturbing pattern. Cassie said she was repeatedly pressured into performing S acts in front of Diddy, acts he orchestrated, watched, and controlled. Sometimes with strangers, sometimes with escorts, but always with power hanging over her head. She didn't feel like she had a choice. I didn't know what no could be or what no could turn into, Cassie said. She testified that she feared the consequences: blackmail, violence, retaliation, if she resisted. Sean is a really polarizing person, also really charming, she explained. It's hard to really be able to decide at that moment what you need when he's telling you what he wants. That confusion, that pressure, it's how manipulators operate. They blur the lines until you can't tell what's safe anymore. And now, years later, Justin is admitting he saw that same manipulation play out again and again. He never spoke about it before, probably because he was young, scared, and under Diddy's control himself. But now that Diddy's world is falling apart, and the truth is finally being exposed, Justin is adding his voice to a growing list of people who are done staying silent. Because these weren't just wild parties, they were weapons of control. Now that Justin Bieber is finally speaking up, he's making one thing painfully clear. Cassie wasn't the only one.
The surveillance footage that was captured inside of a Los Angeles hotel in 2016 allegedly shows Combs' then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a hallway. A now-settled lawsuit filed by Ventura claimed that she was trying to leave the hotel after a drunken Combs punched her. The video appears to show Combs chasing her down the hall, throwing her to the ground, and then repeatedly kicking her.
She might have been the first woman to break through the noise and force the world to listen. But according to Justin, there were many other girls who went through the same nightmare under Diddy's control. Some were young, some were artists. Some were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And a lot of them never came forward because they were scared or silenced or convinced that no one would believe them. And they weren't wrong, because some did try to speak out. And the industry ignored them. One name that keeps coming up is Kim Porter, Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of 3 of his children. Kim was a successful model, actress, and someone who was deeply embedded in Diddy's inner circle. And yet, even with all that proximity, she was never truly protected. In fact, many people close to the situation have said that Kim suffered in silence for years, enduring manipulation, emotional and threats. Justin reportedly knew a lot, not just about Diddy's relationships, but about his parties, his dealings, and what he did behind closed doors with Kim. And according to some sources, Kim had planned to write a tell-all before she tragically passed away in 2018 under circumstances that still raise questions to this day. Now, the truth about Kim Porter is starting to surface, and it's even darker than most imagined. In the Peacock documentary, Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, Al B. Sure, Kim's ex and the father of her eldest son, drops a bombshell. Kim kept a secret diary, one that allegedly detailed Sean Diddy Combs' twisted and disturbing private life. Al B. Sure says Kim began confiding in him when things started to shift in her relationship with Diddy. Before Diddy swept her into the whirlwind of celebrity lifestyle, lavish vacations, red carpets, and public displays of affection, Kim and Al were together, raising their son. But once Diddy entered the picture, Al says, everything changed. In the documentary, Al reveals that Kim felt something dark take hold of Diddy. She said something's not right, he recalls. His soul has gone completely dark, like he's just not there. But what's even more chilling? Kim allegedly told Al not to say anything. She feared for his safety. That's how powerful and dangerous she believed Diddy had become. She made him promise not to speak up, knowing that exposing the truth could get someone hurt, or worse. And yet, she still documented everything. Al Be Sure claims Kim kept a private diary, full of details about Diddy's unnatural behavior, his control over her life, and the disturbing things she witnessed. While her children have publicly denied the existence of this diary, the allegations in the documentary are already sending shockwaves through the industry. Because if it exists, and if it ever sees the light of day, it could be the final nail in the coffin for Diddy's carefully constructed image. Think about it. Kim Porter, someone who lived with Diddy, co-parented with him, and was once his closest partner, may have known everything. And she might have written it all down. And now, the people around her, people like Al Be Sure, are done staying quiet. She made me promise on her son's life not to ever reveal anything, because she was in complete fear of my life, Al added. What I do know is that before her death, she was keeping a diary. Someone got the passcode to her phone and computer and found out what was writing, what was going on behind closed doors. This was the same era when Justin Bieber was constantly around Diddy. He was just a kid, barely a teenager, fresh in the industry, starry-eyed, and eager to make it. Diddy took him under his wing, brought him to parties, events, studios. To the world, it looked like mentorship. But behind closed doors, Justin was seeing things he didn't fully understand, things that didn't sit right. He watched how Diddy talked to the women in his life. Harsh, controlling, sometimes even cruel. It didn't matter if they were girlfriends, assistants, or women he claimed to love. There was a pattern. Diddy had a way of making people feel small, like they owed him something. He could flip from charming to intimidating in seconds. Even at that young age, Justin could feel the tension. He noticed the fear in people's eyes when Diddy entered a room. He saw women flinch when they were corrected or silenced. He saw how the people closest to Diddy, those in his inner circle, never dared to speak up. And as much as Justin wanted to ask questions or push back, he didn't know how. He was just a kid in a room full of powerful adults. And that's the part people forget. Justin was still growing up. While millions of fans were watching him sing love songs on stage, behind the scenes, he was being exposed to a world no should ever be part of. A world of secrets. A world of manipulation. A world where women, some of whom are only now coming forward, were suffering in silence. Justin didn't speak back then. Not because he didn't care, but because he was scared. Scared of Puffy. Scared of the machine. Scared that saying the wrong thing could end his career, or worse. When Kim Porter passed away in 2018, the world was shocked. But for a lot of people who knew the darker side of Diddy's world, her sudden death raised more questions than it answered. On the surface, it was ruled as pneumonia. But the timing, the silence, and the energy around it didn't sit right. Kim was only 47. She was healthy, vibrant, and a devoted mother to her kids. She had reportedly started to distance herself from Diddy before her death, and that's when the speculation started. People close to her, including her ex Al Be Sure, began hinting that Kim had been afraid. She was said to have kept a diary documenting everything she witnessed in Diddy's world, his behavior, the women, the drugs, the secrets. According to Al, she had told him, "Something's not right. His soul is dark." And even though she allegedly confided in him, she made him promise not to go public because she feared what Diddy might do. Even fans picked up on the weird energy after her death. Diddy posted a tribute video, calling her the love of his life. But many thought it felt more like guilt than grief. There were no clear answers, no investigation into the deeper rumors. And just like that, the world moved on. But those who knew Kim knew there was more to the story. And now, with the lawsuits, raids, and testimonies piling up against Diddy, people are starting to look back at Kim Porter's death with a new lens. Maybe she knew too much. Maybe she was preparing to speak up. And maybe that scared him, and he did what he could to get rid of her. And Kim and Cassie weren't the only ones. Aaliyah Dana Houghton, often hailed as the princess of R&B, was a radiant force in the 1990s music scene. With her effortlessly cool style, ethereal voice, and quiet confidence, she became a trailblazer for a new generation of artists. By the time she was in her early 20s, Aaliyah had already reshaped the sound and image of contemporary R&B. Her rise coincided with the dominance of several major figures in hip-hop, one of whom was Sean "Diddy" Combs, then known for his work as a producer, entrepreneur, and the face behind Bad Boy Records. While Aaliyah and Diddy were never romantically linked, their professional paths crossed more often than the public may realize. Diddy was a key architect in the shift of R&B and hip-hop toward a more polished, crossover-friendly sound in the mid to late 90s. His influence touched nearly every corner of the industry, and even though Aaliyah wasn't signed to Bad Boy, the ripple effects of Diddy's work were felt in her orbit. From collaborations with producers aligned with Diddy to shared appearances at industry events, the two occupied the same rarefied space in Black music culture. After Aaliyah's shocking death in a plane crash in 2001, Diddy was among the many celebrities who attended her funeral. In interviews over the years, he's paid tribute to her, often describing her as an icon gone too soon. But as time has passed, the way we revisit these stories, especially through the lens of current events, has become more complicated. In recent years, Diddy has faced serious allegations, including a lawsuit from singer Cassie Ventura, accusing him of and more than a decade of physical. Other accusations have since followed, and while these are still unfolding through legal channels, they've cast a long shadow over his legacy. In light of these developments, some people have begun to re-examine Diddy's past relationships in the industry, including the nature of his professional connection to Aaliyah.
And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both Aaliyah. They shared so much in common.
There have been rumors, never fully substantiated, that Diddy exerted a certain level of control or influence over Aaliyah's career behind the scenes. Whispers about how tightly managed her image was and how industry power players may have had more say than the public knew continue to circulate. While there's no direct evidence linking Diddy to any misconduct in Aaliyah's life, the fact that these questions persist speaks volumes about how murky the entertainment industry can be, especially for young women. Though Aaliyah was linked to several high-profile celebrities during her short but impactful life, the man she truly envisioned a future with was record executive Damon Dash. Their relationship wasn't just tabloid fodder, it was, by all accounts, deeply personal and rooted in real connection. While many assume the couple met at one of Diddy's famous white parties, Dash later clarified that the real story was quite different. In an Instagram live session via US Weekly, Dash explained, "I didn't go to those Diddy's parties. I went to one in the Hamptons about 20 years ago with Aaliyah, and that's about it. Ain't she odd happen in the Hamptons. That's the day I met Aaliyah. We hung out there and then we left, and that's what happened. That was 20 years ago. That was not in LA or Miami." According to reports, the event was one of billionaire Michael Rubin's annual Hamptons parties, an exclusive gathering of elite figures in sports, business, and entertainment. It was there that Dash and Aaliyah first crossed paths. Interestingly, Dash admitted he wasn't immediately smitten. It was through subsequent interactions that Aaliyah's charm, intelligence, and grounded personality drew him in. By 2000, they had begun dating, and those close to them have said the two were planning to marry before her tragic death in 2001. Dash has frequently spoken about the deep bond they shared, noting that Aaliyah represented peace and authenticity in a world that often prized image over substance. Behind the scenes, however, there were tensions. According to multiple sources and ongoing speculation, Sean "Diddy" Combs was reportedly displeased with Aaliyah's relationship with Dash. Though the full scope of their interactions remains unclear, industry insiders have long whispered that Diddy had hoped to mold Aaliyah's career in his own image, as he later did with Cassie Ventura. Diddy allegedly positioned himself as a mentor, someone who could elevate Aaliyah's brand under his watchful eye. But Aaliyah, always fiercely independent despite her youth, didn't fall into that dynamic. Unlike Cassie, who would later reveal a disturbing history of manipulation and during her time with Diddy, Aaliyah didn't submit to that kind of control. Those close to her say she pushed back, kept her boundaries, and made her own choices. Her relationship with Damon Dash was one of those choices. She wasn't looking to be managed or molded. She was looking for love, for partnership, and for someone who saw her beyond the industry. It's telling that some of the most powerful men in music wanted a say in Aaliyah's life and career. But what makes her legacy even more remarkable is how she managed to stay true to herself, even under immense pressure. Her bond with Dash was real, unpolished by the industry, away from the spotlight, and it offered a glimpse into the woman Aaliyah might have become had her life not been so cruelly cut short. As Aaliyah's star continued to rise in the late 1990s and early 2000s, so did the attention from powerful men within the music industry. Some of it supportive, and some of it far more complicated. One name that continually surfaces in these behind-the-scenes stories is Sean "Diddy" Combs. While there is no concrete evidence that Diddy ever had a romantic relationship with Aaliyah, rumors have persisted for years that he had more than just professional interest in the young star. According to various accounts, some coming from individuals who claim to have been in Diddy's inner circle at the time, including former bodyguards and associates, there were attempts by Diddy to get closer to Aaliyah in ways that made those around her uncomfortable. These sources have said in interviews and online forums that Diddy was allegedly trying to groom Aaliyah into his orbit, framing it under the guise of mentorship. While the term mentor is often thrown around in the entertainment world, in this context, it carries a more troubling undertone. The story goes that Diddy envisioned Aaliyah as someone he could shape, a superstar molded in the same way he later tried to shape Cassie Ventura. People close to him at the time have reportedly told others that Diddy wanted to manage or influence Aaliyah's career trajectory, to essentially bring her under his control both professionally and, perhaps, personally. But Aaliyah, known for her poise and independence, didn't play along. There are also claims that Aaliyah's team and those closest to her, especially after her traumatic and controversial relationship with R. Kelly, were hyper-vigilant about who had access to her. Some of them, according to rumors, saw Diddy's behavior as a red flag and deliberately kept her at a distance. Damon Dash himself, in interviews, has alluded to the industry forces that tried to manipulate Aaliyah and how she made a conscious effort to avoid being taken advantage of again. As if the headlines surrounding Diddy weren't already explosive, enter Aaliyah Carter, another woman stepping forward with serious allegations, and this time the stakes are even higher. While most of the public has been focused on Diddy's high-profile fallout with Cassie Ventura and the whispers surrounding his alleged attempts to manipulate Aaliyah, Carter's case is turning out to be a whole different beast. And let's be clear, this one isn't just about personal misconduct. It's about systemic power, cover-ups, and the possibility that some very powerful people are pulling strings to keep the truth buried. Aaliyah Carter, known for her role in the R&B group Changing Faces, a staple in 90s slow jam playlists, filed a bombshell lawsuit in 2023, accusing Sean "Diddy" Combs of years of emotional sabotage and According to her, the retaliation began when she refused to play along with Diddy's advances. What started as an uncomfortable industry entanglement spiraled into something much darker. Carter says Diddy didn't just stop at rejection. He allegedly blackballed her, blocked opportunities, and tried to erase her from the music scene altogether. But here's where things get even more intense. Recent courtroom developments suggest there may have been witness tampering, confidential settlements swept under the rug, and even law enforcement figures involved in shielding Diddy from consequences. Legal analysts are already calling it one of the most tangled and potentially explosive entertainment lawsuits in recent memory. If what's coming out in court is true, we're not just talking about celebrity scandals, we're talking about obstruction of justice at the highest levels. And for those still wondering if this is just another disgruntled voice, it's worth asking, how many women need to come forward before we stop treating them like isolated incidents? Cassie, Aaliyah, Ally Carter, all different women, different eras, different circumstances, but eerily similar stories about a man who allegedly uses his power to dominate, silence, and retaliate. For years, Sean Diddy Combs cultivated an image, powerful, stylish, untouchable. But that image is unraveling fast. And it's not just because of one lawsuit or one woman. It's collapsing under the weight of multiple, detailed, and deeply disturbing testimonies from people who knew him, worked with him, and saw the truth firsthand. Another girl came forward recently, Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, one of the girl groups Diddy assembled, promoted, and ultimately controlled. In explosive court testimony, Richard didn't just speak out. She laid bare what many suspected, but few had been willing to confirm. Diddy was allegedly brutally violent toward Cassie Ventura, his longtime partner, and he didn't bother to hide it. According to Richard, she saw it with her own eyes. Diddy wasn't just controlling, he was dangerous. In one horrific incident from 2009, she testified that Diddy tried to strike Cassie with a skillet, and when she managed to deflect it, he retaliated by pushing her to the ground and many other horrible things. He didn't stop there. Richard claimed he slapped her in the mouth, kicked her, and punched her in the stomach. And the moment Richard dared to witness it, he threatened to kill her if she ever told anyone. This isn't tabloid gossip. This is sworn testimony from a woman who lived in Diddy's inner circle, who had everything to lose by speaking out, but chose the truth anyway. And then there's Lauren London, actress, activist, and close friend of Cassie Ventura. While she didn't testify directly, her name came up in testimony from Gina Clark, a former assistant and key witness in the ongoing legal saga. What Clark described wasn't physical violence, but it was violence all the same. Psychological domination, misogyny, public humiliation. According to Clark, Diddy once used Cassie to teach a lesson to her and Lauren London about why they didn't have a man. In front of them, he ordered Cassie around like a trained servant. Sit down, stand up, turn around, walk over there, pick that up, bring it to me, go back to the other room. Cassie complied. Not out of respect, but out of survival. When she left, Diddy turned to them and said, "You see that? You won't do that. That's why you don't have a man." Clark says she and London looked him dead in the eye and replied, "You're mothering right." That moment wasn't just gross, it was revealing. It was a glimpse into how Diddy allegedly saw the women around him, not as people, but as props, as tools to control, manipulate, and perform obedience. The stories from Dawn Richard and the account involving Lauren London confirm what's becoming harder and harder to deny. This isn't a one-off. This is a pattern, a system, a legacy built not just on music and money, but fear and control. And now, the silence is cracking. The question is no longer if Diddy his power, it's how many people knew, how far did it go, and how much longer can the industry keep pretending it didn't happen? So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.